Hi guys, Assalamualaikum. This is Tabarak. Um,
Salam Tabarak.
hey, how are you guys?
Hey, how are you? Alhamdulillah, doing well.
Alhamdulillah. So the link is live on YouTube right now. I have my screen share to share the panel title. This is Tabarak. So just let me know when you want me to stop sharing.
Okay, cool. So once you stop sharing, the videos will go live, like each individual.
Yeah, but it seems like y'all's cameras are off.
Yeah.
There we are. Salam, guys. Hi, Fatima. Hi, Tabarak. Hi, Jihad.
Salam.
Salam. كيفكم?
So is it gonna go speaker by speaker? Like, will it pull up, or is it gonna be a panel with
It's gonna be a panel with all of you guys. But if you could change your names, like SDN, Fatima SDN host or whatever, just to clarify.
How do we do that?
So you go to the participants thing and you click more, and then rename.
Gotcha.
What am I? Okay.
We're struggling out here with no cut, Bashi.
Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started on that, bro. It's you know what? My barber's gonna have the best payday when he sees me. I'll tell you that much.
Right. High in demand right now.
No, you're telling me.
I have to go put my back in.
I even lost my waves, man. I don't even have those anymore. It's just become a mess.
No hide,
How long before Futur for you guys in DMV?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, this is Abid Ayyub.
السلام عليكم عبد.
دكتور عابد معك جهاد.
كيف الحال؟
فاطمة وباشر الباشر from SDN.
أهلا وسهلا.
السلام عليكم دكتور.
سلام
كيف حالك؟
ورحمة الله، الله يبارك فيك، كيف حالكم؟
تمام الحمد لله 100.
الحمد لله.
شكرا يا دكتور عابد. Thank you for joining us.
لا thank you for organizing it. جزاك الله خير.
Of course, thank you. I think Hassan, we're just waiting on Dr. Jamal.
Okay. Do we have Muhyiddin?
Yes, he's on. He should be.
Okay.
This is also live streaming on YouTube, yeah, Dr. Abid. So there's a live stream on YouTube now at the same time that we're doing this meeting, so people can tune in and ask questions.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. This is Muhyiddin.
Assalamu alaikum, Muhyiddin. Oh, doctor, how are you?
Very well, very well. I just called Jamal. He's in Khartoum, so he has some issues, but he will join soon using his phone.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay. All right. Should we start? Should we start or should we wait for him?
Well, just give him a minute and introduce me to who is online now. Fatima, Al-Bashir.
Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Bashir? Where are you, Bashir? Are you in the States or outside the States?
I'm in the UK, along with Fatima here.
Oh, okay. Are you in London?
No, I'm in a place called Cardiff in Wales.
Cardiff. Okay, I know it
Yeah.
very well.
That's a rare thing to hear, but I'm glad you do. And all of you guys are in the States or based there?
Yeah, Jamal is in Khartoum, Sudan.
Okay.
Dr. Abid is in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
I'm in Virginia.
Lovely.
Jihad is in Virginia.
We've been getting reacquainted with Jihad after some time, and yeah, he's shown us the lovely Virginia or the tri-state area, DMV. We're starting to learn a bit more about America, more than our own country here in the UK. But it's nice in that kind of sense.
Jihad is a good tourist guide.
Oh, he makes me want to come already to Washington DC and to DMV. But I'm sure definitely Dallas is next on the list, Dr. Abid. So please give us some recommendations.
Come here, we have a nicer weather.
Oh, that is true. That is true. Is it true? Is it true? Everything is bigger in Dallas. Like, is it true everything is bigger in Texas?
Everything is mega.
Wow, that's next on the list.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Okay, so I think so we have the YouTube up. As we're going through the discussion, we can watch the comments as they pop up, Fatma and Rashid, and we can introduce those at the end.
Yeah.
So you have the link for it, or do you need me to send it to you?
We have the link on our side.
Okay.
Fatima?
Which link are you referring to, Jihad?
This is for the YouTube live stream.
Okay.
Just making sure.
Jamal is not in yet. Let me just check it.
Dr. Abid, let me give you a background on SDN. I don't know if I've spoken to you about SDN, Lakin. Sudanese Diaspora Network is a nonprofit organization that's a collective of Sudanese youth in Sudan and outside of Sudan. So the mission is to connect all Sudanese people outside of Sudan and the people inside of Sudan towards the goal and efforts of development in Sudan. So we work on different programs. We have different pilot projects on a number of causes: education, youth empowerment, healthcare, medical, and that's just to name a few. We just had this past December a conference in Sudan with USAID, in partnership with USAID. And that was just to facilitate discussions on different proposals that we had in terms of each area that we cover, and also to get feedback from certain representatives in Sudan and the Sudanese community. So now we're usually every year we'll have an event called a global iftar event. So we have groups in the US, we have a group in the Gulf region, we have a group in Sudan, and we all collaborate together in the UK, and we all collaborate together. Usually we'll have a big event that happens on the same day in each one of the major cities. So DC, the London, Dubai, and Khartoum, all at the same time, and Toronto in Canada. And it's a fundraiser event where we organize an event and people come, and we have different programs and we have different talent come and perform and those type of things, and we generate money. So last year we raised $40,000 on during this event. This year, because we can't have an in-person event, we've transferred everything online. So everything is now a digital campaign. And we've been doing week by week programs during Ramadan that cover like diverse range of topics. This is part of that.
Alhamdulillah.
Definitely, it's a great initiative done. And so what we're hoping to learn is what we can do together. But also in terms of the humanitarian work, I know a lot of people that now want to get involved in these kind of things. But sometimes they just don't know how to put their foot in the door. Or sometimes they want to do just a bit more than donating. And to do that, they want to understand the system. They want to understand humanitarian work, what is involved with it, and the story behind it. How do people get motivated to get into it in the first place? The kind of projects that are involved, and essentially, we want to know who you are, and hopefully, we get to show you who we are as well. To increase more people having a participation in humanitarian development, for sure. And so it was brought to our attention, UMR by Jihad, and the work you guys have done. I briefly checked out your website earlier, but I have a lot of questions. Like we were fanboying and we have a lot of questions we want to ask, and hopefully get some more ideas on what we're together in the future, and as well in any other case. So yeah, we're still waiting for Mr. Jamal in Sudan.
Yeah, Jamal is having some technical issues with his internet, but I think we can start. If he can join, that will be great. At least he will give us an update of what is the situation in Sudan, although we talk on a daily basis. But let's start. I suggest we start because he can join.
Okay, the beginning is just basic things. So that's okay. If you can join us in during the discussion, that'll be good. Okay, so first, Dr. Abid, we kind of want to get and Muhaddin, my dad. Weird calling him Muhaddin. What can we, what is UMR? Just a background on what UMR is and how it came about.
But Muhaddin, if you allow me, I can answer this.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay. Officially, UMR actually on paper registered in 2010. There was a group of students in George Mason University. They want to respond to Haiti earthquake. But they got together, and alhamdulillah, they start collecting some fund, and they went to Haiti and helped the people of Haiti. And after a while, they could not sustain the organization. Still, it was a very limited financial resources available to them, but they got in financial trouble. At that time, I was the CEO of Islamic Relief in the United States. And in 2013, I was about to leave Islamic Relief, and then they approached me, said, instead of opening your own organization, why you don't come and talk to our board and see if we can work together? So I met their board, and I already, myself, I already wrote the philosophy of UMR, what UMR is trying to do. And we want to have something unique, not to be just a typical relief agency. But I explained to their board what I'm trying to do. Then we decided to merge the ideas. So we invited another organization called MISWAC. That was dental relief. Then the three organizations got together and they agreed to dissolve their own boards and make me the president and CEO of the coalition. and we called it United Muslim Relief at that time. Then I formed a new board, and we only kept the registration as a 501c3 because at that time was difficult to go through the process with the IRS to obtain the 501c3. So we kept the old registration, but we changed everything else. We changed the bylaws, we changed the mission and vision that they were operating under. And alhamdulillah, we formed United Muslim Relief. And the organization in 2018, we closed at almost $82 million. You know, it's between the cash and the in-kind donation. And our major focus is actually on health projects. We send around $72 million worth of medical equipment and supplies and medicine around the world. That includes Sudan. So we operate in 22 countries. And our focus also on youth development. We opened 33 chapters in the universities. And alhamdulillah, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
We opened 33 chapters in the universities. We have almost 4,000 students with us. And they are helping us in the United States mainly, and also raising awareness about what's going on around the world. We enroll with the White House presidential program. And I think Jihad was one of our recipients of a certificate from the White House when the volunteers put certain hours with UMR. They received a certificate signed by the President of the United States, and they receive a medal and a pen, and they can use it, you know, on their CV and so on. I think Jihad, you got one, right?
I did.
Yeah, I myself, you know, I distributed around 360 certificates on behalf of the President of the United States. In the United States, we partner with the major organizations like Red Cross, FEMA, and many agencies. We are part of the National Emergency Response Team. Anything happen in the United States, UMR is authorized to respond, and we go work hand in hand with FEMA and the Red Cross. Alhamdulillah, now we have two actually regional offices, one in the Middle East in Amman, Jordan, and one in Kenya, in Nairobi. And from these two offices, we run 22 countries. Recently, we opened an office in Sudan, and Jamal is our country representative. And as you know, Muhyiddin is our chairman. He's also Sudanese, and we have another medical doctor. She is based in London. She's also on our board. And we have the chairman of Islamic Medical Association of North America. Also, he sits on our board. And we have two other business people from California. One, his name is Samir. He's actually a business developer. And we have Muhammad Ahmed. He's a young businessman. He's in his early 30s. She also sits on our board. We have two offices in the United States, official offices. The headquarters in Washington, D.C. is walking distance from the White House. And we have another office in Dallas, Texas. But we have representatives in many states, from New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Arizona, Detroit, and Atlanta, and so on. Alhamdulillah, we have representations in many states in the United States, and we are registered and eligible to raise funds in every single state in the United States. We do have seasonal projects like Ramadan feeding programs, the Udhiyah, Qurbanis, and so on. And we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these programs. You know, so, and we call ourselves United. You know, the name of the organization, United Mission for Relief and Development. We changed from United Muslim Relief to United Mission. And the reason we called it United, because simply we believe in working with others. And, you know, for me, it's how we can maximize the benefits going to the beneficiaries and increase efficiencies. So, and definitely cutting cost. So most of our project is done jointly with other organizations. And in rare cases, we go alone and do stuff. Sure. In Sudan, we send the millions of dollars worth of medical supplies and equipment. We're doing it with an organization also led by a Sudanese lady. Her name is Hanan. She has an organization called African Women for Cancer, something like that. I forgot the exact name, but she fights cancer in Sudan. We support many hospitals in Sudan, including Dharra Hospital, which is a hospital actually take care of the cancer patients. We support Khartoum Hospital and many other hospitals. It's like 20 hospitals in Sudan. And right now we are sending a huge, we put a request for a huge shipment of medicine, like 40-foot container full of medicine, which will be in many millions of dollars. I don't know the exact millions, but it's will be more than $5 million definitely shipment. It's going to Sudan. And we have, we already sent almost six containers, 40-foot containers of medical supplies and equipment. And we have 2 already on the way to will arrive Sudan on May 21st. And I have another 2 containers also leaving next week. Because each shipment is almost $1.5 million. Alhamdulillah. That's in general, yani, so what we do.
Okay.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I think that was a really good, just all-encompassing recap of what UMR is and what UMR does. And I think people got a lot from that in terms of understanding UMR. So you mentioned that there's 22 countries that UMR works in, Sudan being one of them now, and we'll get to talking about your current programs in Sudan. But could you highlight just a few of the programs that you're running internationally right now? I know UMR was recently in Kenya with Muslims of the World. Could you tell us a bit about your project there and or other highlighted projects?
Yes, and actually myself and Brother Muhi went to Kenya a few months ago, and we did cataract surgeries. And Alhamdulillah, and Muslim of the world were with us at that time.
Nice.
They were broadcasting live these surgeries. And Alhamdulillah, we did more than 500 surgeries total so far in Wajir County. And right now also we contracted an eye surgeon. We can establish a clinic that we can train the local doctors how to perform this kind of surgeries. And inshallah, we're going to open also an eye clinic in that area. And we come up with a new project called Adopting Village. So the entire Wajir County now, we decided to support the health system there. And again, what we did in Sudan, we're doing it the same thing in Kenya. We identify the major hospitals in that area, and we start sending them medical supplies and medical equipment to enhance and improve their capability of taking care of patients. And also, we're gonna start, inshallah, training the local doctors. It's not only for the eye surgeries, but also with other stuff, and connecting them with medical doctors in the United States to do the telemedicine. And also part of the adopting village, we will take the entire village and do many things instead of just go and like dig a water well in one village. Then we go to another village and we do building a school and so on. We decided to do everything in one area. We take a whole village and we take the village from A to Z, from remodeling their houses, do water well, build a clinic there, take care of schools and so on. And if we can, if they have orphans, we sponsor their orphans. And alhamdulillah, and so the entire village will be adopted by UMR. This is a new approach that UMR is doing, and it's different than the style of work with other organizations. Like something I personally, I call it random good. Okay. It's you go and dig a water well in one village, then you leave them and go and do something else in different village. This is good, but those who, you provide them water, same people, they need a school. Same people, they need a clinic. Same people, they want to eat, right? So, but you cannot just do one thing for them and leave them. So now we look at it from comprehensive perspective, and we try to give them as much support as we can for the exact same people. Then after that, we move to different village.
That's fantastic. And that's called Project Adopt a Village.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So then that results in also not just the short-term aid, but also long-term sustainability for that village as well.
Yes. And, I just sent them actually 17,000 school backpack. So that now every single student in the elementary school will receive a backpack in the entire county.
Mashallah.
From UMR.
Mashallah, that's great work. That's amazing work. So I guess with so many projects or so many efforts and great efforts being led in different countries, what we want to know is maybe a question that we had was, how do you collect your data? How do you figure out who to help and how to help them best around the world?
We rely heavily on our connections on the ground, in the field. We do something called needs assessment, and the needs assessment has to come from the field. Our representative will come and tell us after he meets, officials and other people, collect the data, and he will identify for us the exact need based on the information that he gets from officials and also on the ground that he will go visit and ask and see. Then our approach always go with the most needy. It's not only the needy people. We look for those who are in the most need, then we'll go and try to support them. So this is our approach.
That's fantastic. So it comes from the ground, and it's the needs are assessed based on collaboration between governments and between people on the ground who understand the situation.
And also we try to work with the local NGOs, local organizations. So of course we have also a vetting system that we don't work with anyone. So we have to run their names, make sure that they're all clear, and that last thing that you wanna do, that you're trying to help some people, then you find yourself in trouble with the authority, that you're dealing with people already flagged or so on. So, but we have to make sure that everyone that we work with and we hire or even volunteering with us are actually clear.
Right. That's fantastic. That's amazing. So that's a bit of a background that Dr. Abid gave everyone on what UMR is in general, its purpose, its mission, and the countries it works in a general sense. Now we want to shift the focus to Sudan. So I think Al-Bashir will go ahead and take it from here in terms of questions.
Fatima? Or
I'm sorry.
My bad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to further embed knowledge on UMR. It really is great work what you guys are doing. So you mentioned that you're working in 22 countries, one being Sudan. So what work are you currently doing in Sudan?
Right now, we're focusing on health in Sudan. We're supporting hospitals with medicine, medical equipment, and medical supplies. And I myself visited Sudan maybe now 6-7 times with Brother Muhi. And last time when I was in Sudan, actually, I met Jihad there too. Then during Ramadan, definitely, because this is season, we do seasonal project like food baskets and so on. Inshallah, we'll be doing that also in Sudan. But right now, the major focus is actually on health.
Fatima, if this is Muhyiddin, if I may just add that I have Jamal on WhatsApp. He can hear the meeting and he can actually participate by sound because he wasn't able to log in using Zoom. So I have him on my phone through WhatsApp. And if there is any questions for him, he will be more than happy to answer as well.
Inshallah. And one thing, if I might add also to you, I myself am certified trainer. I teach at Indiana University, and I teach also here in Dallas with an Islamic seminary. This is with maybe you know Dr. Yasser Al-Qadi and Omar Sulaiman and Dalia Mujahid, these names. So I teach with them here, and also I sit on their board of trustees. And I'm a global professor at Indiana University. I'm certified to teach their courses in many countries. But one of these courses, I will be teaching it in Sudan. And also last week, I got certified by the German university also globally that I will be taking also their curriculum and taking it to Sudan. I was talking to Jamal that we can start organizing trainings. So I'm a certified coach and I'm certified executive director. So I will be teaching nonprofit management, and I will teach the humanitarian workers how to do a proper humanitarian work, taking best practices and also following the law of the land.
Inshallah, that's amazing. So anybody watching right now, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. This is your opportunity to ask. This is free game right here.
We do have one question, but we'll answer that. We'll ask that afterwards. Yeah.
So you say you visited Sudan many times.
Yes.
What would you say the current state of Sudan's health infrastructure is at the moment?
It is very bad, and actually, unfortunately, I was listening to even the health minister of Sudan. He made a press conference, I think 2 days ago, and I have a copy of it in Arabic I can share with you. The health system in Sudan, if Corona break, it's not gonna sustain more than 15 days. After 15 days, they will start screaming. Sure. But they are, the health system in Sudan not too strong. And as you know, it was under sanction for a very long time. So they are having a severe shortage of medicine, medical equipment, medical supplies. Even they have problem with energy and so on. So inshallah, nothing will happen. But if the coronavirus break down there in Sudan, it will be a major, major challenge for them.
Absolutely. So here in the UK, I actually have a background in healthcare. So I'm a pharmacist here. In the UK, the NHS was struggling to get PPE. Is it difficult to get PPE, and has it been a challenge to get PPE and medical equipment to Sudan?
Alhamdulillah, we reached an agreement with the Minister of Health and the equivalent to the FDA in Sudan that will allow medical equipment and medical supplies and medicine. That's why we keep shipping. And alhamdulillah, we got waivers as UMR because we are registered NGO there.
Right.
And we have access, and everything that we send from the United States, and everything is an FDA approved. So it's top qualities. And so far, all the hospitals that we've been supplying are happy with it. That's why they keep asking for more. Sure. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And then another question. So I think the diaspora outside of Sudan, I think we don't have a problem with raising money. I think the biggest challenge that we face is how we get the money to Sudan. What's your advice?
We know the financial system is not that great, and you cannot transfer money to any bank that you want. You have to be very careful on sending money. As you know, Sudan also was blacklisted.
Yeah.
Recently, they just, but in practice, still banks are hesitant to transfer funds to Sudan. But you'll have a challenge, but you have to search and see which bank in UK is actually accept to transfer funds to Sudan. That's a big challenge. And even in Sudan, not every bank can actually receive foreign funding.
That's right.
But that's another challenge. So for us as a UMR, we already, alhamdulillah, we opened a bank account there in Sudan. We do have a bank account. We have a bank account with the Sudanese currency, and we have it with dollar. So and we already made an agreement with our bank here that we can channel money. Alhamdulillah, so we overcome this challenge for us. So, but if you guys want to do anything in UK, you have to be very, very careful.
Absolutely. And is your work situated in Khartoum, or is it situated all around of Sudan?
We will cover many places in Sudan, but our office is in Khartoum.
Okay. And Bashi?
Well, first and foremost, gentlemen, doctors, thank you very much for your lovely answers and your contribution towards this. So I'll kind of want to take the discussion in a different kind of way. So I want to be able to hear things from the role of the diaspora, or rather the role of the African diaspora or the diaspora in general. Your organization, mashallah, operates in many different countries. And as such, I'm guessing the organization is that you'll have a lot of volunteers on the ground to help you do the work and get the information and implement systems. However, what can the diaspora do to help with development efforts for your organization, for example? What can, from the outside, we do?
The diaspora organizations are underestimated and underfunding. And, back in 2015-16, United Nations assigned me to lead the diaspora organizations in the United States in a preparation for the World Humanitarian Summit. I was the chairman in Washington, D.C. I gathered 85 diaspora organizations, and we made our recommendation for the United Nations that they can submit it to the world leaders to adopt. And I attended the World Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul. Sure.
Nice.
Most of the diaspora organizations, they've been used as a delivery boy, but they are not really supported properly. And I know they give them a grant to do stuff for them that this big organization doesn't want to do. Sure. They give them the dirty work. Sure.
Essentially.
And I give you an example. These big organizations, they don't want to go and risk their staff in Syria. but they look for a diaspora organization that they give them a change. They give them a few dollars that they can go and do the work for them inside Syria.
Really?
They risk the diaspora employees and save their own employees. So we're trying to change that, and we try to do advocacy that this situation should change. And the diaspora organization, as they are the one who basically delivering most of the work, they are doing the work, but they are not getting the fund. Sure. So now we are advocating. So I'm a consultant with the United Nations. Sure. And now we're trying to push that the diaspora organization need to do capacity building. So we have to train them better, and we have to fund them better. Sure.
100%.
That they can do the work in the best way possible. They risk themselves, but they are not getting the benefits.
And I agree with you on that 100%. Recently, I was also in Sedan to see the whole, along with SDN members here, to see the rebuilding of a new nation. And as Jihad pointed out earlier, we've had this lovely conference where we try to get a collective of other NGOs, on the ground NGOs, so we can do a solutions mapping kind of initiative. So we can hear from the people on the ground what is going on, how do you deal with the situation, and how we can further come to the solutions that we want to. But at the same time, I'm really glad you mentioned on how the big NGOs are almost preying on the smaller ones to avoid the dirty work trouble. So this makes me move on and think, what is the best thing that the youth can do to support development efforts? So for example, you just said you were in Turkey and being given an award, mashallah, and such. I would think it would be great if more of the youth were able to see that, or they were exposed as to such actions, so they can get a hope of inspiration, a hope of motivation that you don't have to do this the traditional kind of methods of life, of careers. There are ways, and you will get rewarded for it. So let me quickly get back to the question. What are the best things the youth can do to support development efforts? Anyway.
I believe the youth are very talented and creative, especially when it comes to use of the technology. So, a lot of diaspora organizations, their use of technology is extremely limited and they're lacking behind. So if the youth can jump in and help and support the diaspora organizations with the technology, so whether even if you go dig a water well, if the diaspora organization using the traditional method, they will be lacking behind. It's too expensive and it's not very productive. So now big NGOs, they rely heavily in technology. Even a lot of diaspora organizations are still using Excel sheets and whatever, right? So people moved way beyond that. So, but if you guys can introduce the technology and teach the uncles, ammos, or whatever, how to become savvy in technology and really adopt it and start implementing it inside their organizations, they will do a lot, by far a lot better, and serve the people a lot better. Even they don't even a lot of diaspora organizations, they lack of documentations, and this is how they get in trouble with even government. Because lack of documentation, not because they are thieves and whatever. No, they're nice people, but lack of documentation put many question mark on their work. So the youth can help them to get more organized and documents what they do, and to save them and save them from trouble with the government and others. My advice for the youth is not only to bring the energy, you need to bring creativity, you need to bring new ideas, and bring with you the technology that you know how to use by far better than the older generation.
And I back you with that. And you know, as we all know, especially during the whole COVID-19 outbreak, it seems that the ammus and the khaltus, mashallah, they've started to use WhatsApp much more, way much more better than anybody else. And they know how to disseminate the information, but now we need to start disseminating the right sort of information and the right kind of logic that goes with it. So I'm a person who works in community organizing, and my kind of belief is that the people should build the state. The state shouldn't build the people. So that involves working with communities and bettering the community. Once the community is in good hands, then the people that are produced will go, you know, would make good citizens in the future. So my kind of question is on the humanitarian world that you're part in, and Dr. Mahideen also. So how do you prioritize which regions to work in? Which projects to take on?
It depends on the need. So usually when we go visit, we meet officials. You know, if I myself or Brother Mahi go meet a country, we do meet top officials, right? Then look at their need exactly, because I believe aligning goals will help you to achieve the goal by far faster. So we look at the plan, what the county wants to do, right? And they need to guide us on the deficiency where the need is, right? Then we'll go and ask the people to get feedback on the ground. So from the people, what exactly they need, right? Then we'll start matching. We need to make sure that the county does not give us false information. So if we find that their answers are actually matching, then that's a good start. And also, we send our own employees, our own staff, to investigate, get more feedback from the people who live in that area. So maybe you want to go build a school, for example, and for them, school is not a top priority. They want to drink, they want water well, they want clean water. Then you go start with the clean waters for them to make sure that the people in that area become your fan, that you feel with them, you consult with them, right? Then they can give you the maximum support. But if you go with different plan, then your priority does not match the priority of the people that you are serving, they might resist you.
Yes.
Then you will have hard time to operate.
I definitely back that. One thing I've learned whilst doing some kind of development work in Sudan, going to the villages areas, it's that you never go up to the villagers and say to them, I'm here to make you better, or I'm here to make things better, because it's like an attack on their identity, on themselves. And some people, they'll think, hey, why are you making me better? And there's nothing wrong with me in the first place. However, if you go and say development, it has positive connotations on the word, and they're much more accessible. They're much more easier to talk to and to be receptive with. So I back that. Okay, next question. How does somebody get involved in humanitarian work? You talk about all these great, plans and being all over the world in countries, but where does one single individual say to themselves, I want to go in, this is how I do it? How do I get that foot into the door?
I truly believe humanitarian work is not for everyone. So it's if you hooked up with the humanitarian work, you are the chosen one. It's no, seriously, I believe humanitarian work, you should believe deep in your heart.
100%.
This is exactly what you need to do, because you have to have certain manners also. It's not, that's why I said it's not for everyone.
Of course.
So you need to believe in sharing and caring, and you really need to practice it, because you're gonna find a lot of obstacles. Brother Mahideen can testify that for this, how much we struggle to get medical supplies and medicine into Sudan. If we are not into it, we could have just give up and just go to the easy country and deal with. even with officials, how the attitude that they have, and so on. So
That's a good question.
It's a big challenge. So if you don't believe in it, you will give up easily.
100%. And this makes me think of a question now that's straight off the top of my head. So one day we're going to be dealing with these kind of individuals, the officials. What are your experiences like dealing with officials and then negotiating deals with them, or trying to push things through with them? I can understand that with some cases it'll be easier than others, and sometimes you could have got the job done way much earlier if it wasn't for somebody blocking the negotiation. So how did you manage to deal with that?
Well, number one problem, you need to massage egos, because dealing with the top officials, of course, no one wants to say that their system is broken and they are actually struggling and so on, although they are bleeding, and you know they're bleeding. But to make them admit they are bleeding and they really need help, it's like you're pulling their teeth. It's not easy. Sure. So, but you need to, if you want to be a leader, part of your leadership is to practice diplomacy, how to be a diplomat, that you can actually talk to these officials to their level. Sure. And, you always go because you are a giver. So you are the one coming to help. You don't need them per se, right? But does not make you an arrogant. You have to find ways always to humble yourself, although you are the giver. Okay?
So.
And massage the ego of the officials and try to get the right information from them, and find the middle ground, how to work with them. It's Muhyi himself, as a Sudanese, he struggled. So also, when he can speak by himself, how much, he himself communicated with officials there to let them just accept donations, and we give them donations, and these donations are in millions. But for some reason, there is egos and pride and whatever. And also, you need to deal with the certain policies of the country. Most of the policies, the lobbyists, the business people, they are the biggest lobbyists in any country, including the United States. They do influence the policies of the Ministry of Health, for example, right? So then it's become a monopoly. So when they work with the ministries of health to design policies, they protect their own interest as business people. It's not about the needy people. So for most of the policies that the Ministry of Health put, does not really serve the needy people, but serve at the most the business people. So for you need to create the balance and see how you can navigate through that. And you're not going to be able to do that without practicing diplomacy.
That's basic foundation.
Dr. Abid and Bashir, this is Muhyiddin. If I may just add to what Dr. Abid said. Besides the ego, we have to understand that each country in the world, they have their own rules, laws, bylaws, procedures. They set it up. I'm not here to try and correct that. We are here to deliver humanitarian work to the needy. Now, the rules may be, the rules may need some change. Even the individuals you deal with, sometimes you may discover that their heart is not in what you're trying to deliver, because they have their own goals, whether it is politics, political, or anything that we tend to keep ourselves away from. Our own belief is and goal is to deliver humanitarian work to the needy, regardless of where they come from, their background, their color, their religion, or whatever. So the main thing is to help your fellow human beings. And if you do have that as your goal, and you just keep focused in that, people, even with difficulties, they will see after a while maybe, or maybe after a long while, but they will see that your goal is a noble one. And most of the people will come around. Those who do not come around, they do not gonna go, they're not gonna last very long. And we know that from the experiences that we have in Sudan. It took us almost 2 years, 2.5 years to register in Sudan. And there is the suspicion that a lot of organizations, they come for another motive than humanitarian motives. And I do understand that. There are some countries who really understood how to deal with these situations. They created bodies to welcome you, but they have made sure that you really mean what you have advocated to do. And there are many countries that we do have good experiences in achieving that way. Sudan is going through a change. And I do understand that everyone was suspicious of certain behaviors of certain individuals and certain parties or certain politics. We do understand that. We are not politicians, and I keep saying that to all the officials that we meet. We're not politicians. We're not there for profit. We're not there to take credit. We are there to cooperate and coordinate and to work hand in hand. You tell us, you help us, we help you in achieving your goals. But the end result is to reach those people who need you and me to help them. And we know they're just to deliver food or shelter. We are there to sustain humanity by making people rely on themselves, so they can actually tomorrow depend on their own resources rather than depending on handouts from people coming from overseas like myself or another people. So that is the objectives. And I think if we keep that in mind and always keep in mind that we are trying to reach those in need. And anything else will become very easy. Dr. Abid touched on an issue with Sudan. Sudan, for instance, they will not allow any medicines to enter the country, which has a lifespan less than 6 months. That's fine. But if you ask the questions, for instance, that medicines, Sudan doesn't have a stockpile of medicines. They do have very limited resources. So if the Minister of Health himself is saying that we only have 2 weeks supply of medicines or medical equipment or medical supplies or PPE. So if the minister himself says that, then what is the logic in having the 6 months restrictions? The system should address that quickly based on needs. So 2 weeks is all what Sudan has. Then I would say rather than 6 months, let's say, don't bring me anything less than 3 months, or bring me anything that I'll take up to 6 months, because the country needs it. You know, they're not going to stockpile it. They're not going to store it. So it will actually expire. And I know Sister Fatima or daughter Fatima, my daughter Fatima with us, she's a pharmacist. She will understand that not all medicines expire on that particular date. It is not like a switch or an alarm clock that as soon as the date printed on the box arrives, then everything gonna be expired. That is not the case. With certain medicines, yes, we can apply that. With the majority of medicines, I mean, I used to go to my doctor here, and he would say, rather than I write you a prescription, so you go and buy it and spend $50, $80, I will give you something that is expired, but it is still active. Take it. And I would take it. And that is the status of medicines. People have to look at what benefits someone rather than leaving them without. So I just wanted to add that point, but I think it is going to be okay. Time is also an issue when you're dealing with urgency needs. For instance, I want to get something to Sudan with the current situations. It is difficult for us to secure it, but even if we do, how do we get it quickly so it can reach everybody in Sudan? In order to do that, there is procedures has to be in place. That means when my shipment arrives, it has to be received quickly, it has to be distributed quickly, and even before we get to that stage, they have to approve it so I can ship it and get there quickly. And in situations like these, emergency situations, I think there should be emergency policies and rules that people should adopt to help everybody to go forward.
So it sounds like there is a lot of bureaucracy in the way that can sometimes impede results being, to get the desired results we want to. And unfortunately, that bureaucracy, can get corrupted in the meantime. And to echo on the point said about earlier, essentially, you're trying to find the middle ground between, say, officials and yourselves and those people in the government, so you can both, I won't say appease each other, but you can see that middle ground. So both understand that whatever you do helps and benefits each other and the bigger picture as a whole. So thank you very much for that, Dr. Mahiuddin and Dr. Abid. I have one more question for you, and then we're going to open the floor to the questions from the audience. And that is, how do you pace yourself with this line of work? How do you avoid burnout? This is something that takes a while to do, right? Before you see results. So what do you say to yourself? How do you convince yourself? And I think Dr. Abid touched upon it earlier by saying you have to be a strong individual and you have to have principles that you have to stick with. But how do you pace yourself? How do you not rush immediately and then take it slow bit by bit?
Well, you always need to be self-motivated.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not self-motivated, you will struggle.
100%.
And so we know that motivation is actually, I'll consider like 3 categories. Like it can be incentive motivated or fear motivation. So I can give you, I'll say, okay, if you do this, I will give you a bonus. I'll give you increase of salary or whatever it is. Or I can tell you, if you don't do it, you get fired, right? But the best thing is always, if you are a self-motivated, find, when you wake up in the morning, find something how to motivate yourself. And the best thing that for me, it's when you go back to our seerah, what Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us, the best among people is the most beneficial to others. So this is how we look at it. So if you are a good people or not, if you're a good person or not, so how good you are to others. It's not to be selfish. It's not about you. It's about others. But the more you help people, the more you benefit others. So the better of a human being you're gonna be. So I remind myself this every day. So how can I help others better? How can I help more people? And how can I do my job better to be more effective? Alhamdulillah, you surround yourself also with the people who can also motivate you. The humanitarian work is stressful, and you don't need a person next to you who can add more stress. So you need a supportive people around you, and if you find a good team around you, then you can do a lot. You'll go a long way. So, but if the people around you always discouraging you and put obstacles, then you will struggle.
I hear that loud and clear, Doctor. Thank you for that, Dr. Mahiuddin.
I think we're going to open the floor up to questions. Before we do that, I do have a couple of questions. So the first one is directed to Dr. Mahiuddin. So earlier you were saying about other organizations and, you know, the motives that they may have. What's your advice on like an organization or a charity? How do they be transparent in what they're doing?
Could you repeat that, Fatima, please?
So, you know, there's a lot of organizations and charities and stuff that are doing work all over the world. What's your advice on being transparent in the work that they're providing?
Okay, I will ask, if I may ask Dr. Abid to address that. I think he had an in-depth experience in reference to that. Go ahead, Dr. Abid, and then I will comment on it.
Yeah, actually, to sustain the organization, you have to do three things, right? Transparency is number one. Sure. Number two, you have to have good governance in the organization. Number three, you have to have code of conduct, policies and procedures, written policies and procedures. So organization, if they cannot do something in public, don't do it in secret. So your financial documents, make it available. Even if donors wants to look at your finance, hey, come and look. Your staff want to see your finances, let them come and look. So, if you start hiding stuff, then you are in trouble. So usually my strategy is anything that I do, I consider it public, even if, you know, even that the FBI come and sit in my office, I don't really care. It's everything that we do is for public record. That's why you are, you know, nonprofit organization. You're supported by public. Then the information, it should be public, you know, for everyone. So, and if you don't do that, then you will answer later to the authority and so on. I would rather like my chairman come and ask me a question, right? Or my colleague come and ask me a question, then the authority come and ask me these kind of questions. Mm-hmm. So I have to be as clear as possible with the with my colleagues and with my subordinates. And if I don't do that, then the organization can be in big, deep trouble.
Also, if I may add, Fatima, with a lot of humanitarian organizations, they seems to lose the vision of the purpose of which they were created.
Absolutely.
These organizations have been created to help others. And you find the make or break of any organizations, if you really analyze it, is the cost of running that organization. Some organizations will spend 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. We've heard of organizations that spend 80% of what has been allocated for relief, because you need to spend money on managing or management and staff and presence and transportations, and that is costly. But if it is taking the big chunk or the majority of your finances into spending it, running your own affairs, then you're not really helping much. So to be successful is to reduce your costs to the minimum. And if you can actually cover your costs from any other source, rather than the money that is coming to help others, that will be even better. That is another issue that I just wanted to mention if you want to create a successful organization going forward.
Thank you very much. I have one last question. I'm really sorry. This is for Dr. Abid. So you've been to Sudan many times. Was it 7, did you say?
Yes.
What was your favorite memory?
What they call it, Ulad Umderman restaurants.
Yeah. You could say that again.
That was good.
Shout out to Nasam Umdurman.
we took him to Hosh al-Samak, we took him to Awlad Durman,
Yeah.
we took him to quite a few places, but he's a meat eater, so he loves meat.
I hope. Have you tried the agashe actually?
Which
By
one?
any chance? Have you tried something called agashe?
Gashay, yes, he
very
did.
nice.
He did.
You did, yes. It was spicy, if you may remember it.
Oh, the spicy one, yeah.
seasoned. Or like on a stick, a very long one on a stick.
Oh, mashallah.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Allah will meet you there sometime soon.
Jihad?
Yeah, so I think we have 2 questions, or we have 1 question, Bashi, from the audience?
Well, depending on the timing. Well, let's start off with the one, and if we have some time, we can go on to the second one. But essentially, what we're gonna go for is to what extent is UMR's work relief-based versus based on long-term empowerment? So I'll repeat that again.
Dr. Abi, the project Adopt a Village, and how you've kind of, your philosophy on impact has kind of developed and evolved as UMR has evolved into, instead of just focusing on one thing per community, it's kind of focusing on an all-encompassing thing. So in that way, is most of UMR's work, following that line of thinking in terms of long-term empowerment and making sure that communities are sustainable? And is that always the way to go?
Well, it depends on the situation and where you work. Actually, it's vary from country to country. For example, now we're helping with the Syrian crisis. So in the Syrian crisis, you definitely need relief, right? Because these people under bombing, and they want to eat, they want to drink, they want shelter. Those are relief work, right? But if you go to a country like Kenya, for example, they don't have the crisis. They are not in war. So you need to think of development for them, right? Development projects. So, and you cannot actually say, okay, I'm just doing development and I'm not doing any relief work. So, because people also still, they want to eat, and they want to eat today, not tomorrow. So if they are sick, they need their painkiller today, not tomorrow. Right? So you have to give them the relief first, then you go, that goes in stages: relief, recovery, then development. So development comes in a later stage. So now we're trying to focus a lot on development, but without compromising the relief when they need it.
If I may just add one thing, I think we touched on this briefly earlier on, that most of the work we do, for instance, we used to at the beginning, I think Dr. Abid may have mentioned this, that we used to, and still, if we need the expertise to take, for instance, doctors from UK or United States to go and perform in, a third world country, we do that. But I think you will find also the talent and the expertise in each country you go to. So what we do is we rely on the locals to do things. We can supply the need to assist them to perform. In Kenya, we were there in February, and we had cataract surgery done over 3 days, I think, in Wajir County. And all the doctors and the nurses who actually were there were Kenyans. We have actually, Dr. Abid, I think we have sponsored with them training other doctors to perform same kind of surgeries. So gradually they will be dependent upon themselves rather than wait for people to come from outside to try and do that. Now in Sudan, we're doing the same thing. Today we received a long list from Jamal, are you with me? We received a list.
Yes, yeah.
Which hospital that we received the list from? That they just started, they finished the building and they need to they need some equipment.
What's the question?
Yeah, well, I was asking about the name of the hospitals in Khartoum that is they just finished building and they needed some medical equipments and stuff that we're working on now. Anyway, what? The Bauga Hospital. This is outside Khartoum, I think. Bauga Hospital. So.
Khartoum Hospital also they start rehabilitation on it, you know. So they need urgent medical equipment and they need medicine and everything. Also, Soba Hospital. Okay.
So the coordinate.
This hospital in Sudan, like Khartoum Hospital, Bahri Hospital, Soba Hospital. So they need urgent emergency, urgent equipment.
Yeah. So
if there's any way for the situation now is very critical, really, very critical. As the Ministry of Health says that, you know, they only have supplies only for 15 days and that's it, you know. So they need anything urgently, something like medications, whatever, you know. If there is any way to send this by airplane, that will be very, very interesting, really. Yeah.
okay, Anna, I was touching on the reliance and cooperations with other experts in the country, like doctors and nurses and specialists, and that's in itself is an important part of the humanitarian work we do. Okay. I hope I answered that question, but I know I strayed a little bit far away from the question, but I needed to mention the issue of coordinating with other people within the country.
No, I think that's a really important point, Dr. Muhyiddin, because I think with a lot of humanitarian work that goes on, I think they do this thing where they bring people in to fix the country when the country can be helped from within. And I think that's a very important point. I know here in the UK, there's a lot of Sudanese doctors, and within the hospitals, they're respected a lot. So I think having them in Sudan is very helpful, and it's important what you've just said.
Okay, that's good. That is good. Fatima, are you in London, by the way?
I'm in Leeds, West
You are in
Yorkshire.
Leeds, okay. Leeds, okay. Because we have a member of the board, Dr. Widyan Alittom. She actually works in Cambridge, but she lives in London, and she's a member of the board of UMR.
Is she sister of the minister?
No, not the Minister of Health. No.
Because he's Akram Alittom also.
Yeah.
His full name.
No, it's a name, not just a similar name.
So we'll take one more question from the audience, and then we can end it on this note. Thank you again so much, Dr. Abid and my dad and Jamal for Dr. Jamal for joining the discussion. And I think a lot of people got a lot out of this discussion. And well, thank you again. Just echoing those thanks. But very briefly, what has been your most memorable experience while working for UMR, Dr. Abid and my dad? And Dr. Jamal.
Personally, when I go to the field and work with those that we are trying to help, it's that give me the pleasure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose me to serve these people. It's a huge difference between sitting at the office and just managing things from Washington, D.C. or Dallas than going to the field. So I myself, I was a refugee. I was born in a refugee camp and I grew up in a refugee camp. So I know what it takes to stand on their feet. And as a refugee, I used to depend a lot on the United Nations support. So, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me. Now I can help those who are in need. So for me, being with the beneficiary is actually give me the pleasure and feel the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He chose me to help people. And I used to be a recipient of help before.
Okay, shukran, Dr. Abid, shukran Jihad, and everyone. For me personally, I will just try and picture or share with you my last experience. I have so many, but the last one is always fresher to my memories in Kenya, in Wajir. We went as a team, as a group, Dr. Abid and I, and we had about 12 others, young influencers. And these people, they came as volunteers as well to help and assist us raise funds for projects in Wajir. And we coordinated two things. One is to have these cataracts operations. And the first day was, actually they started before we arrived. They were seeing patients and they were assessing their problems and enlisting them for these operations. It's a simple 10, 20 minutes operation. But the effect is huge. When I mean huge, I just want to share with you what we all experienced. We locked ourselves in a room. I think this is the next day, the second day, when they were taking the bandages out and people were seeing for the first time. Some people lost their eyesight for months, some people for years. We had a 102 or 109 years old lady who hasn't seen the daylight for 30, maybe 20, 30 years. And for them to be able to see their loved ones, their relatives, to see the lights, to see the greens, to see the people around them, it's just such, yeah, for me, I don't know how to put it into words, but we sat, all of us, in a room, and Dr. Abid can, test to that. We all cried, all of us cried just by seeing, the change and the faces of these people. And what we did is there were other people who were interviewing them before the operations, and they were asking them questions like, you doing this operation, let's say it doesn't work for you, or it didn't, materialize in you being able to see. And the things that we heard really touched all of us. These are people who walked for tens of miles to come to this center to have this procedure done on them. Seeing people benefit from very little. I mean, an eye operation cost about $100. And for someone to get their eyesight back for $100. And that was the campaign those influencers actually initiated. Is nothing. Is nothing. I mean, we compared it to going into a restaurant for a meal, and you can see the changes that takes place on those people. So there are so many memories, Jihad, but that is the one I really have, vividly in front of me now.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Again, we're getting all these thanks in the comment section for of the live stream. So again, echoing our thanks so much for your insight and your continued efforts in helping Sudan and helping the world and the most needy people in the world. And we'll be continuing to run this program during the rest of the remainder of the month of Ramadan, shedding light on UMR as well as the issues that are in Sudan as well right now that UMR is addressing. And we'll continue to work closely in collaboration. So thank you so much for your time and for your collaboration.
And Jihad, please allow me just one last thing. I'm going to say it in Arabic, and this is very important to all of you guys. And that is, I read recently someone posted something that really, attracted my feelings and eyes to it. And it says, إنك لست في حاجة إلى درجة علمية أو شهادة جامعية لتخدم غيرك. You don't need a high qualifications or a university degree to serve others. ولا تحتاج لأن توفق بين مرادفات من الكلمات والأفعال. You don't need words also لتقدم خدمة إلى غيرك, to serve other people or to give service to other people. إنك فقط تحتاج إلى قلب مليء بالرحمة وروح يغمرها الحب. All what you need is a heart that is full with mercy and love. So that is something for us to bear in mind and keep as we go forward.
Thank you very much for the doctor for such a reflective words. Definitely. I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Abid and Dr. Mahideen and Mr. Jamal, if you're still on the line. Thank you very much for participating and joining and giving us such gems, especially for us to reflect on during this holy month of Ramadan, especially during this as a month of mercy. This kind of humanitarian work is more than good to do during this month. However, it shouldn't only be limited to this month. This is an ongoing thing that will continue for the rest of our lives, inshallah khair, and doing what we have to do to help the people around us. It's a calling. This isn't a thing where you suddenly decide you want to do it or not. It's a calling to get into such kind of a line of work. So I have to say thank you very much, gentlemen, for showing us what that calling did to you and how it took you in your path and such. Any other comments from anybody else? And also, can you please find a way to share that Arabic quote to Jihad so he could spread it around to everyone else? I think a lot of people would love to reread that and contemplate those words again.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. We're grateful for the work you do. Keep on the good work. And we're doing it for people who are less fortunate than us. And as Dr. Abid said, we were put in that situation.
So.
Thank you, people, for this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Hey guys, that's it.